it reminds us that we have come forth. We are emanations of the one presence and one power that is God. And I love that journey that it took us on of, we've come in and we are that pure light, but we've forgotten. And then we wake up. And I love that in Unity and a New Thought that we're waking up, and we're waking up in a way that reminds us of who and what we really are, and reminds us of our core being, and that core being is love. That is who and what we are. And so I'm excited. First of all, I want to remind us what our mission statement is, and you can say it with me if you like. Our mission is to encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And what I want to say to you today, that authentic expression is that expression of love, is that expression of love as it shows up through each and every one of us. And so today we're starting on a 6-week journey through actually 2 books. The first one is by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's called The 4 Agreements. And then the 5th agreement is actually by his son, Don Jose Ruiz, and it's the 5th agreement. Now, this information is based on ancient Toltec wisdom. The Toltec people ruled over Mexico about 1,000 years ago. And the 5 agreements offer a powerful code of conduct that can rapidly transform our lives into a new experience of freedom, true happiness, and love. And it absolutely has the power to do that. I love to come back and revisit these every 4 years or so, because when we dive back into these, we remember again, and it gives us an opportunity to really clean some stuff up that probably most of us could do a little bit of cleaning up in our consciousness. So the 5 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally, which is probably the easiest one of all. Simple. Don't make assumptions, and I know probably none of us ever make assumptions, right? Always do your best and listen, but be skeptical. So I'm going to share with you some words directly from Don Miguel Ruiz. And this first part, actually, we know this in Unity. We already know this part. And that is that everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being that we call God. That every single one of us, we are manifestations of the one living being that we call God. The real of us is pure light. The real of us is the image of God. The real of us is life and truth and love. And he said what happened though is that we ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and by only seeing what is actually the virtual reality of who we are. And so in that, we have all been living a distorted view of ourselves. And he said it's taken years of practice, but we have become masters, and I like how he says this, of pretending to be what we are not. Makes you think, huh? I like things that make us think. Pretending to be who we are not. And Ruiz says that this is our grave because the real us is not the one who is living our lives. But today, we're going to begin the process of coming back from the dead and reclaiming our divinity and living from our authenticity. So I want to remind us what our authenticity is. And Dwayne had been in Florida for a number of months and had gone to Unity of Naples, and he told me about Panache Desai, that he had came and visited there. And so I got online and I listened to Panache, and Panache is a contemporary New Thought leader. If you have not gotten to listen to any of Panache's things, I encourage you to go to YouTube and listen. So I want to share with you some of the words that he shared with the congregation that day, because I think that they're incredibly powerful. And he said, "You, my friend, are love. You are a divine being. There is a divine essence of magnificence that lies at your core. But you are not what you have been told. You are not the agreements that have been spoken over the love that you are. You are not the judgments. You are not the pain. You are not the hurt. There's something so splendid, so magnificent, that if you finally had the courage to allow it to emerge, your entire life will transform. This is who you are: pure being, pure potential, and pure awareness. And where you are, God is. Yes? Yes. So why are we here, he asked. He said, what is the purpose of you coming from this place of love into a form to be in this reality that is so filled with pain and separation and hatred and all that is yet to be embraced? You are here, my beloved family, to wake up in the midst of the dream, in the midst of all of this, and have the courage to finally stand in the truth of who you are, which is love. And for me, that's what this whole message is about. To me, that's what this whole message of unity is about. Remembering who we are. And remembering that we are, that is our essence, that is our beingness, that we are love, and that we have the ability, the capability, we have everything we need, like we sang about today. We have everything that we need right here to be that pure expression of love under the most adverse conditions. We have that ability to presence love in everything and to everyone. And that's not always easy, is it? Especially when crazy things are happening around us. But I want to tell you that you have that. That's who you are. That's who we are. That is our authenticity. That's our real authenticity, is to be that. So today is about breaking down the illusions in order to build our lives back up. I like some of the scriptures that remind us that we're not seeing and we're not hearing what is the truth. Jeremiah 5:21, hear this, O foolish and senseless people, who have eyes but see not, who have ears but hear not. Matthew 13:14, Jesus says, and in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive. You know, let ye who have eyes see and let ye who have ears hear. And he wasn't talking about our physical eyes and our physical ears. He was saying there's something so much deeper that has been hidden. And we're going to talk about why it's been hidden. And it's because of all these agreements that we've made that have covered up the truth, the reality of us, the truth and the reality of what this can be for us. And so then we come to Ephesians 5:14 that says, for it is light that makes everything visible. Wake up, that is why it is said, wake up, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. So probably all of us know this. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Yes, life is but a dream. So Ruiz says, that what we are seeing right now is a dream, and that as humans we dream 24 hours a day. We dream awake and we dream asleep. And when we dream awake, we have a material plane, and so we dream linear. But when we're asleep, we don't have that material plane, so our dreams are pretty erratic. And he says, before we were born, the humans before us created the big outside dream called society's dream, or the dream of the planet. Now, the dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, such as together we create the dream of the family, the dream of the community, the dream of the city, the dream of the country, and finally, the dream of a whole of humanity. And he said the dream of the planet includes all of society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its different cultures and ways to be, its governments, its schools, social events, and holidays. So we are living in the America dream, and we are living under society's rules and the government's rules, which were created way before we came into being. So he says what happens is that this dream is already in place, and when we are born, we are immediately introduced to whatever dream it is that we have been born into. So, and as children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but by default, we agreed with the information that we received from other humans about the dream of the family, the dream of society, and the dream of the planet. And here's the thing, not because there was any bad intention, but because the humans before, our parents, that's what they knew to teach us. And the people before them, that's what they knew to teach them. So, we've heard the sins of the father are passed down from generation to generation. The error thinking of those before us are passed down from generation to generation unless we wake up and we recognize that we are living in literally a dream that was created for us. And so I think about that if a child is born into abject poverty and they are told stories about why and how they will continue to live in that, they will probably continue to live that dream. A child who is born into wealth and is told stories about how wealth has been in their family forever will probably be wealthy. It's all a matter, can we see how this is unfolding for us, that we've all been born into the dreams of the family, the dreams of our ancestors, the dream of society, the dream of our church, the dream of our schools, the dream of our siblings and our friends into this dream. So he said, this is the way that we've learned everything that we know. Without even realizing it, we learned a whole reality and a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is good and bad, what is right and wrong, what is beautiful and what is ugly. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about like a couple of different things, but you go to some of the other, especially like more the indigenous peoples, and their vision of what beautiful is. And it's beautiful. And our vision of what beautiful is and what we see on magazine covers and things like that. Or, you're born into a society where cows are just roaming around on the streets. I was thinking about that on my way in, and I thought how absurd it would be if I was driving in through Springfield and cows were just roaming around on the streets and that was normal. So it's a recognition of what we were born into. And he said, and it's fine because, we do need some guidelines in society. He says, but, and this is the big thing, there's another step that takes place that is a step that really will pull us out of our authenticity. And this is what he calls the domestication of humans. So what this is children, we are raised with the reward and punishment system. We are told that we're a good boy or a good girl, a bad boy or a bad girl. And when we are good, we receive a reward. And when we are bad, quote unquote, we receive punishment. And we were rewarded and we were punished many times over the course of our lives, right? Many times, numerous times, multiple times. He said the thing is that soon we became afraid of being punished and also afraid of not receiving the reward. The reward is the attention that we got from our parents, our teachers, our siblings, our friends, and we soon developed the need to hook other people's attention in order to get the reward. Now the reward feels good, doesn't it? When you're being accepted, when you're being approved of, that feels good because we were taught that that's what should feel good. And yet, how many of us sometimes, when we're seeking somebody else's approval, don't feel good inside because we know we're giving something up that is of value to us in our own beingness? Have you ever experienced that? Absolutely. So he says, with that fear of being punished and the fear of not getting the reward, we start pretending to be what we are not, just to please others, just to be good enough for someone else. And we start acting. And we start pretending to be what we are not because we're afraid of being rejected. This is where the judge comes in, and we're going to talk about this in the weeks to come. The fear, here's the thing, the fear of being rejected turns into the fear of not being good enough. And I want to say to you right now, and I hope if there's any one message that you get from this ministry, it is that you are enough as you are right where you are. You are good enough. You are goodness. And it doesn't matter what has ever occurred in your past, whatever will occur in your future, that will never change. You are enough. And you are so completely, unconditionally loved by your source. And that can never change. That will always, always, always be. Okay, so he says, here's the thing. Soon this domestication is so strong that we no longer need anyone to domesticate us because we have agreed unconsciously to how it all works. And now, being the ones who are self-domesticated, we are now the ones who give ourselves the reward and punishment according to the rules that we have agreed to. And here's the thing, too, that we have to recognize. We also become the ones who are giving that same thing to people around us. We are accepting and rejecting people based on our dream of what is acceptable, of what is right, of what is good. And this is something for us to really take a look at. You know, I know that it devastated us when we heard about yet another shooting in the mosque in New Zealand. And it's just unbelievable, the hate. But when you look at this, you can see that there are people who are raised and they are domesticated to believe in hate. They are trained to believe that this is wrong. And it's not by any means saying that that makes it okay. But I think it moves us from being such the judge to recognizing that they were acting out of what they were taught to be true. And, you know, Scripture clearly says, hate the sin and not the sinner. You know, we will never accept ever that as being okay. You know, but our job is still to love. And it is imperative, you guys, it is imperative that we find that place in us to love even those who are so far removed from what we could ever say is good and acceptable, that have taken actions in that. Because when we are in that negative, harsh judgment and we are desecrating people, we are adding to the energy that we say we don't want in our world. And that's why I want to say to you, and I really hope that we get this deep inside of us, that we do have what we need to come from that place of love inside ourselves. The sooner we can get there, the more of that love energy that we send out to the world. And that is what we need more than anything right now, is we need that energy to go out into the world, to help wake other people up. And we have to let go of how that can show up. Our job is simply to be that. I love, there's a song that says, I want to be a window to God's love. I want to be a window to God's love. Okay, so what are some of the ways that we are living maybe what other people's ideas might be of us? So if perhaps there's a family business that you were expected to go into, or maybe your family, they were all in the military or they were doctors, and there was an expectation for you to follow in those footsteps. Perhaps you're in a relationship that is no longer working, but you don't feel right in leaving that relationship. How about the world's dream of what success is? I mean, look at this. And look, and really what I see is that people are waking up more and more because they're recognizing that that old dream of success, which was about achieving, and getting, bigger, better, more, go more and more in debt, that's not working for people. And people are finding this hollowness inside of them because they were simply living the dream that was the world's dream of success. You know, it's interesting. I saw something on Facebook the other day that said something about in my later years in life, I'm at the place of releasing all those things that I struggled to accumulate in the first half of my life. And I know that for many of us who are in this second phase of our life, that's exactly true, that we recognize it was never about all the accumulation, that was never going to fill a hole in us. How about the dream of what a perfect family is? You know, that is a dream that, you know, we saw on TV with Ozzie and Harriet, and, you know, the various people, oh, this is the perfect family. And then, you know, we think that should be the way it is, and a mother should be this way, and a father should be this way. And we find that for most people, it's very different than that. I know that for me personally, you know, the paradigm, the dream for my family was that as women, we didn't seek higher education. We got married and had kids. And so it was never even a thought for me to go to college. Now, I'm going to tell you that stopped with us. You know, all of our children have gone to college, you know, but it's waking up and recognizing, and it's not that college has to be for everyone either. That's the thing too, is recognize that. It doesn't mean that everybody has to go to college. It's following what is that is seeking to emerge as you, and also supporting those around you in what is seeking to emerge as them. And you know, supporting them in their journey and not trying to make them wrong if they don't follow the path that you think they should follow. Has anybody ever not followed the path you think they should follow? And did they? And if they did, are they happy? You know, so it's just looking at those things. I also grew up believing that women's voices and opinions were not as important as men's. I've changed, haven't I, honey? But it took me a long time to find my voice, because that was, you know, that was a dream of the planet. So there's a lot of other ones, and that's part of the opportunity that we have, is to look at those things in our lives. Mark 8:36 says, "What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul? Be in the world, but not of the world." You know, and Jesus talked about this, that we are to be in the world, but let us be aware of not being of the world, but being true and authentic to our own beingness. There's a story that John Maxwell shared in his book called Put Your Dream to the Test, and there were a couple of business professors that conducted this experiment with 4 monkeys. And they put these 4 monkeys in a room, and there was a pole in the middle of the room. And at the top of the pole, there were bananas. So when the first monkey got hungry, he went up to the top of the pole to get a banana, and he was sprayed with a torrent of cold water. And he squealed and he came down. He went back up, got sprayed again, squealed and came down. Did this numerous times until he no longer went up. Each of the 4 monkeys, it was the same thing, until none of the monkeys would even attempt to go up the pole anymore. So they took one of the monkeys out, replaced it with a monkey that had not been in the room. When that monkey went to go up the pole to get the bananas, the other 3 monkeys literally grabbed the monkey and tried to pull him down. Tried to go up again, pulled him down. Tried to go up again, pulled him down, over and over, until that monkey no longer tried to go up the pole. They did this with the other 3 monkeys until the only monkeys that were in the room were ones that were not in there originally. And it got to the point where none of the monkeys would go up the pole to get the bananas. And I just think that's such a good visual for us of how we have become domesticated in our lives, of the agreements that we have taken on to be true because somebody else told us this is what is true. This is what is true about your family, so this is what is true about you. This is what is true about your family history with health or whatever, so this is what is true for you. This is what is true about, how far people in the past have been able to go, so this is what is true for you. Or just, you think you're going to live that dream, and it's like recognizing, you guys, it's all opinion. It's all opinion. And we get to make our own agreements. We get to choose our life. Oh. And then the scripture from Romans 12:2 is, of course, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you will prove what is that good and acceptable will of God. So this week is simply, I say that because it's not so simple, but wake up and start to recognize. Look at your life and ask yourself, am I living my life? Am I living the life that I truly want to live? And then also start looking at ways that you show up. Because here's the thing I can tell you is that, the agreements even that we make within ourselves about, this is just who I am. I just speak my mind, and people just have to deal with it. Start looking, or I never speak my mind, so nobody ever knows what I'm thinking, or I go along with everything that everybody else says. Start looking at some of those things and just being aware of them, because through these weeks we're going to be talking about the various agreements and how we can move past some of those. So I would like to close with two things. One is a big affirmation, two slides of affirmation. If you would like to share this with me, let's do this together. Each moment of my life has the potential to be a new beginning. There are fresh choices to make, new ideas to adopt, new hopes to enliven. My life is under my authority, and I use this power to create the life I choose. At the start of any new venture, I may worry that it will be too hard or wonder whether I will know what to do. How I choose to respond to these worries is up to me. I choose peace. I choose faith. I choose support from family and friends. I know that I am the very essence of the living, loving God within and all around me. Before we go on, let's do that sentence again, because I want us to really get this. I know that I am the very essence of the living, loving God within and all around me. The indwelling Spirit supports and encourages me to take the next right step. It might just be the start of the most satisfying time of my life. And I am going to affirm for all of us that this moment is the start of the most satisfying time of our lives. And I'm going to invite us all to share in this next thing, which is an Irish blessing, and we'll recognize it. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. And so it is, and so it shall be. Namaste.